Authority is the key to any managerial job. It denotes the power to make decisions and command subordinates to conform to these decisions. When a superior is overburdened with official assignments, he may allocate or divide his tasks among the subordinates to get the work done by them in order to meet the deadlines that have been outlined. The process of allocation of official work among the subordinates, along with necessary decision-making powers to execute the assigned job, is called delegation of authority. Delegation of authority involves A. Assigning of duties to subordinates, B. Delegating required amount of authority to the subordinates to enable them to discharge the duties assigned to them, C. Assumption of responsibility by the subordinates and creation of obligation on the part of subordinate to perform duties in an orderly manner, D. Periodic evaluation by the superior to check whether the subordinates are performing the duties delegated to them. Definitions of delegation of authority. First, according to F.C. Moore, delegation means assigning work to the others and giving them authority to do so. Second, according to O.S. Minor, delegation takes place when one person gives another the right to perform work on his behalf and in his name, and the second person accepts a corresponding duty or obligation to do that is required of him. Third, according to Louis Allen, delegation is the dynamics of management. It is the process a manager follows in dividing the work assigned to him so that he performs that part which only he, because of his unique organizational placement, can perform effectively, and so that he can get others to help him with what remains. Delegation of authority is one vital organizational process. It is inevitable along with the expansion and growth of a business enterprise. Delegation does not mean surrender of authority by the higher level manager. It only means transfer of certain responsibilities to subordinates and giving them necessary authority, which is necessary to discharge the responsibility properly. Delegation is quite common in all aspects of life, including business. In delegation, an attempt is being made to have meaningful participation and cooperation from the subordinates for achieving certain well-defined results. Due to delegation, the routine responsibilities of the superior are reduced. As a result, he concentrates on more urgent and important matters. Secondly, due to delegation, subordinate becomes responsible for certain functions transferred to him. Delegation is a tool which a superior manager uses for sharing his work with the subordinates and thereby raising his efficiency. It is very imperative to understand that delegation is not a process of abdication. The person who delegates does not divorce himself from the prime responsibility and authority with which he is entrusted by the organization's management. He still remains accountable for his overall performance and also for the performance of his subordinates. Delegation is needed when the volume of work to be done is in excess of an individual's physical and mental capacity. The objectives of delegation of authority are A. To reduce the excessive burden on the superiors, that is, executives and managers functioning at different levels. To provide opportunities of growth and self-development to junior executives. To create a team of experienced and matured managers for the organization. To improve individual as well as overall efficiency of the organization. It acts as a technique of management and human resource development by identifying the strengths and weaknesses of various subordinates, which further helps in proper deployment of human resources to leverage the core competencies of each subordinate. Delegation also helps identify future leaders for an organization because effective and good subordinate performance can be identified and elevated to higher managerial positions in the organization. Delegation also helps identify future leaders for an organization because effective and good subordinate performers can be identified and elevated to higher managerial positions in the organization. Let us also look at the advantages and importance of delegation of authority. Number 1. Relieves the superior for more challenging jobs. Delegation makes it possible for the superior to distribute their workload to others. Thus, they are relieved of routine work and they can concentrate on higher functions of management like planning, organizing, controlling, etc. Number 2. Leads to motivation of subordinates. Subordinates are encouraged to give their best at work when they have authority with responsibility. They take more initiative and interest in the work and are also careful and cautious in their work. Delegation leads to motivation of employees and human resource development. Number 3. Facilitates efficiency and quick actions. Delegation saves time, enabling the subordinates to deal with the problems promptly. They can take the decisions quickly within their authority. It is not necessary to seek approval of the superiors for routine matters. This raises the overall efficiency in an organization and offers better results in terms of employee productivity. Number 4. Improves employee morale. Delegation raises the morale of subordinates as they are given duties and supporting authority. They feel that they are responsible employees. The attitude and outlook of subordinates towards work assigned becomes more constructive. Number 5. Develops team spirit. Due to delegation, effective communication develops between the superiors and subordinates. The subordinates are answerable to superiors and the superiors are responsible for the performance of subordinates. This brings better relations and team spirit among the superiors and subordinates. Number 6. Maintains cordial relationships. The superiors trust subordinates and give them necessary authority. The subordinates accept their accountability and this develops cordial superior-subordinate relationships. Number 7. Facilitates management development. Delegation acts as a training ground for management development. It gives opportunity to subordinates to learn, grow and develop new qualities and skills. It builds up a reservoir of executives which can be used as and when required. Delegation creates managers and not mere messengers. The advantages of delegation will not come to fore easily and automatically. They will be visible only when the process of delegation moves smoothly. Problems may develop if the delegation is not introduced with proper planning and in proper spirit. For example, if the authority given to subordinate is inadequate or if the subordinate is not competent to discharge the responsibilities assigned or if the superior fails to monitor the whole process of delegation effectively. In all such cases, the delegation will be ineffective and the expected advantages will not accrue to the organization and also to the concerned stakeholders of the organization. Principles of effective delegation of authority. Number 1. Knowledge of objectives. Before delegating authority, the subordinates should be made to understand their duties and responsibilities. In addition, knowledge of objectives and policies of the enterprise should be provided to them. This will enable them to discharge their roles purposefully in the process of delegation. Number 2. Parity of authority and responsibility. This principle of delegation suggests that when authority is delegated, it should be commensurate with the responsibility of the subordinate. In fact, the authority and responsibility should be made clear to the subordinate so that he will know what he is expected to do within the powers assigned to them. There should be proper balance, parity or coexistence between the authority and responsibility. A subordinate will not function efficiently if authority given to him is inadequate. On the other hand, if the excess authority is given, he may misuse the same. For avoiding this, the subordinates who are assigned duties should be given necessary, adequate authority that enables them to carry out their duties. Number 3. Unity of command. This principle of delegation suggests that everyone should have only one boss. A subordinate should get orders and instructions from one superior and should be made accountable to one superior only. This means no subordinate should be held accountable to more than one superior. When a subordinate is asked to report to more than one boss, it leads to confusion and conflict. Unity of command also removes overlapping and duplication of work. In the absence of unity of command, there will be confusion and difficulty in fixing accountability. Number 4. The scalar principle. The scalar principle of delegation maintains that there should be clear and direct lines of authority in the organization running from the top to the bottom. The subordinate should know who delegates authority to him and to whom he should contact for matters beyond his authority. The subordinates should also know what is expected from them. This principle justifies establishment of the hierarchical structure within the organization. Number 5. Clarity of delegation. The principle of clarity of delegation suggests that while delegating authority to subordinates, they should be made to understand the limits of authority so that they know the area of their operation and the extent of freedom of action available to them. Such clarity guides subordinates while performing their tasks. Number 6. Absoluteness of responsibility. This principle of delegation suggests that it is only the authority which is delegated and not the responsibility. The responsibility is absolute and remains with the superior, who cannot run away from the same after delegation. Even when the manager delegates authority to his subordinate, he remains fully accountable to his superiors because responsibility cannot be divided between a superior and his subordinate. No superior can delegate responsibilities to his subordinates. He is finally responsible for the acts and omissions of his subordinates. Number 7. Use of exception principle. This principle of delegation indicates that when authority is delegated, it is expected that the subordinate will exercise his own judgment and take decisions within the purview of his authority. He is to be given adequate freedom to operate within the authority even at the cost of mistakes. He should refer the problems to the top level management only when he is unable to take decisions. Unnecessary interference in the work of delegates should be avoided. This normal rule can be given up under exceptional circumstances. Here, the superior can interfere in the work of his subordinates and even withdraw the delegated duties and authority. The superior takes this decision under exceptional circumstances. Number 8. Completeness of delegation. This principle of delegation suggests that there should be completeness in the process of delegation. The process of delegation should be taken to its logical end, otherwise there will be confusion of authority and accountability. Number 9. Effective communication support system. This principle suggests that there should be continuous flow of information between the superior and the subordinates with a view to furnishing relevant information to subordinate for decision making. This helps him to take proper decisions and also to interpret properly the authority delegated to him. Delegation system may not work smoothly in the absence of effective communication between the superior and subordinates. Number 10. Reward for effective delegation. This principle suggests that effective delegation and successful assumption of authority should be rewarded. This will facilitate fuller delegation and effective assumption of authority within the organization. Reward for effective delegation will provide favorable environmental climate for its fair implementation. Having understood the principles of authority, one has to distinguish between authority, power, and responsibility. Power itself can be defined as the ability to get an individual or group to do something to get the person or the group to change in some way. The person who possesses power has the ability to manipulate or change others. Such a definition of power distinguishes it from authority. Authority legitimizes and is a source of power. authority is the right to manipulate or change others. Power need not be legitimate. Having understood the principles of authority, one has to distinguish between authority, power, and responsibility. Power itself can be defined as the ability to get an individual or group to do something, to get the person or the group to change in some way. The person who possesses power has the ability to manipulate or change others. Such a definition of power distinguishes it from authority. Authority legitimizes and is a source of power. Authority is the right to manipulate or change others. Power need not be legitimate. Chester Bernard defines authority as the character of a communication or order in a formal organization by virtue of which it is accepted by a contributor or member of the organization as governing the action he contributes. Such an acceptance theory of authority is easily differentiated from power. What legitimizes authority is the promotion or pursuit of collective goals that are associated with group consensus. The polar opposite power is the pursuit of an individual or particularistic goals associated with group compliance. What are the differences between authority and responsibility? First, authority is the legal right of a person or a superior to command his subordinates, whereas responsibility is the obligation of subordinate to perform the work assigned to him. The second difference is that authority is attached to the position of a superior in concern. Responsibility arises out of superior-subordinate relationship in which subordinate agrees to carry out duty given to him. The third difference is that authority can be delegated by a superior to a subordinate, whereas responsibility cannot be shifted and is absolute in nature. Fourth, and the final difference is that authority flows from top to bottom, whereas responsibility flows from bottom to top. Now let us understand the process of delegation of authority. Delegation process involves 4 distinct stages. The process of delegation moves through these stages. The adjoining figure shows the stages in the process of delegation of authority. The 4 stages in process of delegation of authority are: Stage 1, assignment of duties to subordinates. Stage 2, transfer of authority. Stage 3, acceptance or rejection of the assignment by the subordinate. And Stage 4, creation of responsibility at the subordinate's end. A. Assignment of duties to subordinates. Before delegating, the delegator has to decide precisely the duties which are to be delegated to the subordinate or a group of subordinates. The authority is delegated accordingly and the subordinate is told what is expected from him. The usual practice is to list the functions to be performed by the subordinate. If necessary, targets to be achieved by the subordinate are also spelt out. Subordinates may be assigned tasks either in terms of activities or results. The delegator must clearly communicate his expectations. Competent and responsible employees may be given general guidelines about what needs to be accomplished. Their lesser competent and responsible counterparts need more specific guidelines. In brief, in the first stage of delegation process, duties are assigned to the subordinate. The second stage is transfer of authority to perform the duty. In the second stage of delegation process, the authority is granted by the delegator to his subordinate or delegatee. Authority must be delegated strictly to perform the assigned duty. The performance of duties suffers serious setback when required authority is not delegated along with the duty. In short, the transfer of authority should be adequate considering the duties assigned to the subordinate. Stage 3 is acceptance of assignment or rejection by the subordinate. In this third stage of delegation process, the subordinate delegate has to accept or reject the task assigned to him in the first stage, along with the authority given in the second stage. If the delegatee refuses, the delegator has to make fresh plan of delegation or may consider some other subordinate who is capable and willing to accept the assignment. On the other hand, the process of delegation will move to the fourth stage and the last stage if the first delegatee accepts the assignment of work along with the accompanying authority. The fourth stage is creation of obligation, accountability and responsibility. The fourth stage in the delegation process is the creation of obligation on the part of the subordinate to perform duties assigned to him in a satisfactory manner by using the authority given. When subordinate accepts a task and the authority is given, an obligation is created. He has to perform the assigned task by using the authority granted to him. A subordinate is also responsible or accountable for completing the assigned work. He is held answerable to a superior for the satisfactory performance of that work assigned. The delegator has to help his subordinate as and when necessary, as he is responsible to his own superior or the organization. Difficulties and challenges in effective delegation of authorities. Now let us discuss difficulties and challenges in effective delegation of authority. Every organizational process has its set of challenges that are encountered during its implementation. The same is true even for delegation of authority, which has the following set of challenges and difficulties. The first set of challenges are on the part of the manager, superior or delegator. The first challenge on his part is unwillingness of the manager to delegate authority. Some superiors, managers tend to think that they can do the job better when they themselves handle the job. This attitude that I can do it better myself on the part of the superior acts as an obstacle to delegation. Some managers or superiors who are autocratic and power worshippers feel that delegation will lead to reduction of their influence in the organization. Second is fear of competition. A manager may feel that if he has a competent subordinate and if he delegates authority to the subordinate, quite likely he will outshine him. Fear of subordinates' excellence may come in the way of delegation. Third, lack of confidence in subordinates. A manager may hesitate to delegate authority if he feels that his subordinate is not competent to deal with the problem and take decisions. Even fear of losing control over the subordinates acts as an obstacle in delegation. In addition, fear of being exposed due to personal shortcomings may act as an obstacle in the process of delegation. 4. Lack of ability to direct. Sometimes a manager may experience difficulty in directing the efforts of his subordinates because of his inability to identify and communicate the essential features of his long-range plans and programs. 5. Absence of controls that warn of coming troubles. An organization might not have developed the controlling techniques to know in advance the serious problems lying ahead. It may happen due to concentration of power in the hands of few people. As a result, manager may resist delegation. Number 6. Conservative and cautious temperament of the manager. If a manager has a conservative and overcautious approach, there will be psychological barrier in the way of delegation. A manager avoids delegation as he feels that something may go wrong even when the instructions given are clear and the subordinates are reliable. Number 7. Desire to dominate subordinates. Managers or superiors normally have a desire to dominate the subordinates functioning under their control. They feel that their dominance will reduce if the powers are delegated to subordinates. They also feel that due to delegation, the subordinates will know their managerial deficiencies in order to maintain their superior status, and in order to dominate the subordinates, they avoid delegation itself. Now we discuss the obstacles, barriers on the part of the subordinates. That is, why subordinates resist delegation. Number 1. Too much dependence on the manager for decisions. Some subordinates avoid responsibility even when the superior or manager is prepared to delegate authority. They want the manager to tackle problems and take decisions. A subordinate who is not confident about his performance or ability will certainly try to shrink responsibility even though his superior is prepared to delegate functions and authority. Number 2. Fear of criticism. Subordinates express unwillingness to accept delegated authority because the fear of criticism in the case of mistakes. They fear that they may be criticized by others if they commit mistakes. Such subordinates have the following feeling in their mind: why should I stick my neck out for my boss? Number 3. Lack of information. A subordinate may hesitate to accept a new assignment when he knows that necessary information to perform the job is not likely to be made available to him. He is reluctant to accept delegated functions and authority as he feels that he will not be able to perform well due to inadequate information available. Number 4. Absence of positive incentives. Positive incentives like recognition of work and rewards go a long way in building up the morale of subordinates. In the absence of such incentives in the form of recognition, appreciation, or monetary benefit, a subordinate may not be prepared to accept delegation of authority. Number 5. Absence of self-confidence. A subordinate may lack self-confidence about his ability to take quick and correct decisions. He may not like to accept new challenging functions as he lacks self-confidence. Thus, lack of self-confidence on the part of subordinates is one obstacle which comes in the way of delegation of authority. Number 6. Difficulty in decision making. A subordinate may not have the skill and expertise to take quick and correct decisions. He prefers to go to his superior or boss and ask for his guidance or opinion. Such psychology acts as a cause for non-acceptance of delegation. A subordinate avoids delegation due to such mental tension or inferiority complex. Number 7. Strained superior-subordinate relations. Absence of cordial relations in between the superior and the subordinates hampers the process of delegation of authority. The attitude of the superior towards subordinate may not be friendly but hostile. There may be undue interference in the work assigned to the subordinate. Even the good work of subordinate may not be appreciated by the superior. Such situation creates unfavorable attitude of subordinate towards delegation. He avoids delegation as and when offered. Number 8. Undue interference by superior. A superior should not interfere in the duties delegated to the subordinate. He may offer guidance as and when asked for. Some superiors interfere in the work of his subordinate and try to control him often and again. In the absence of legitimate freedom, the subordinate becomes uneasy and prefers to remain away from the process of delegation. Number 9. Fear of being exposed. Some subordinates may have inferiority complex. They feel that they have limited capacity to accept the challenges which are bound to come out of delegation. They feel that their inability to deal with new problems will be exposed due to delegation. This fear acts as an obstacle to delegation. Thank you.